also for helping me get to the bottom of some of these things.
Thank you very much. Director Mueller, we will, of course, put your full statement in the record. As I said, probably your last appearance here, but you served with distinction as only the 6th director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, which great career, starting your service as a U.S. Marine in Vietnam and through to the present. We'll put, of course, your full statement in the record, but the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, Chairman Leahy, and good morning, and thank you for the kind comments about my wife, who deserves very much of the credit, I must say, but I and she appreciate thinking of her. And Ranking Member Grassley, thank you for your comments, sir. And thank you for giving me the opportunity here to testify on behalf of the men and women of the FBI. And on behalf of them, let me begin by thanking you for your support of the institution over the last 11 and a half years since September 11th. Any progress that we have made in that time frame is attributable to a number of entities, one of them being this particular committee. Now, we live in a time of diverse and persistent threats from terrorists, spies, cyber criminals, and at the same time, we face a wide range of criminal threats from white-collar crime to child predators. And just as our national security and criminal threats constantly evolve, so too must we, the FBI, evolve to counter these threats, even during a time of constrained budgets. And today I would like to highlight several of the FBI's highest priority national security and criminal threats, starting with terrorism. As illustrated by the recent attacks in Boston, the terrorist threat against the United States must remain our top priority. As exhibited by many of our arrests over the past year, we face a continuing threat from homegrown violent extremists. These individuals present unique challenges because they do not share a typical profile. Their experiences and motives are often distinct, which makes them difficult to identify and to stop. And at the same time, foreign terrorists still seek to strike us at home and abroad. Terrorists today operate in more places and against a wider array of targets than they did a decade ago. We have seen an increase in cooperation among terrorist groups and an evolution in their tactics and in their communications. While core al-Qaeda is weaker and more decentralized than it was 11 years ago, it remains committed to attacks against the West. And al-Qaeda affiliates and surrogates, in particular al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, pose a persistent threat. And in light of recent attacks in North Africa, we must focus on emerging extremist groups capable of carrying out additional such attacks. Turning briefly to that which was mentioned, that is cyber. The cyber threat has evolved significantly over the past decade and cuts across all of our FBI programs. Cyber criminals have become increasingly adept at exploiting weaknesses in our computer networks, and once inside, they can exfiltrate both state secrets and trade secrets. And we face persistent threats from hackers for profit, organized criminal cyber syndicates, and what we call hacktivist groups. As I have said in the past, I do believe that the cyber threat may well eclipse the terrorist threat in years to come. And in response, we are strengthening our cyber capabilities in the same way we enhanced our intelligence and national security capabilities in the wake of the September 11th attacks. The Cyber Division is focused on computer intrusions and network attacks. FBI special agents work side by side with federal, state, and local counterparts on cyber task forces in our 56 field offices, working together to detect and disrupt computer intrusions. We have increased the size of the National Cyber Investigative Joint Task Force, which brings together 19 law enforcement, military, and intelligence agencies to stop current attacks and prevent future attacks. And cybercrime requires a global approach, and through our 64 legal attaché offices overseas, we are sharing information and coordinating investigations with our counterparts. Finally, on this particular point, we recognize that the private sector is an essential partner to protect our critical infrastructure and to share threat information. We have established several noteworthy outreach programs, but we must do more. We need to shift to a model of true collaboration, build structured partnerships within the government and in the private sector. Turning to the FBI's criminal programs, we have a great range of responsibilities, from complex white-collar fraud to transnational criminal enterprises, and from violent crime to public corruption. And given the limited resources, we must focus on those areas where we bring something unique to the table. For example, violent crime and gang activity continue to exact a high toll on our communities, and through Safe Streets and Safe Trails task forces, we identify and target the most dangerous of these criminal enterprises. At the same time, the Bureau remains vigilant in its efforts to find and stop child predators. Our mission is threefold. First, to decrease the vulnerability of children to exploitation. Second, to provide rapid, effective response to crimes against children. And third, to enhance the capabilities of state and local law enforcement through task force operations such as the Innocent Images Initiative and the Innocence Lost Initiative. Now, let me pause for a second and spend a moment discussing the recent public disclosure of highly classified national security programs. The highest priority of the intelligence community is to understand and combat threats to our national security. And we do so in full compliance with the law. We recognize that the American public expects the FBI and the intelligence community to protect privacy interests, even as we must conduct our national security mission. The FISA Court has approved both programs. These programs have been conducted consistent with the Constitution and the laws of the United States. The programs, as we heard yesterday, have been carried out with extensive oversight from the courts, from Congress, and from independent inspectors general. And these programs do remain classified, so there are significant limits on what we can discuss this morning in an open session. I do know that there have been classified briefings on these programs for Senate members over the last couple of weeks, and I hope most of you, if not all of you, were able to attend. And if you were unable to, I would suggest that and encourage you to do so. As to the person who has admitted to making these disclosures, he is the subject of an ongoing criminal investigation. These disclosures have caused significant harm to our nation and to our safety, and we are taking all necessary steps to hold accountable that person responsible for these disclosures. But as this is a matter actively under investigation, I cannot comment publicly on any of the details of the investigation. Now, in closing, I would like to turn to sequestration. The impact of sequestration on the FBI's ability to protect the nation from terrorism and crime will be significant. In fiscal year 2013, the FBI's budget was cut by more than $550 million due to sequestration. In fiscal year 2014, proposed cuts will total more than $700 million. The ongoing hiring freeze will result in 2,200 vacancies at the FBI by the end of this fiscal year, with another 1,300 additional vacancies in 2014. I have said, you have said, that the Bureau's greatest asset are our people. Additional operational cuts will impact our ability as an organization to prevent crime and terrorism, which will impact the safety and the security of our nation. And I will say we all understand the need for budget reductions, and we are going through a thorough review of every dollar spent. And I'm sure we can find savings. And we would like to work with the committee to mitigate the most significant impacts of the cuts that both this fiscal year and those we anticipate for the next fiscal year. Chairman Leahy, Ranking Member Grassley, and members of the committee, I again would like to thank you on behalf of the Bureau and all our people for your support of the FBI and its mission. Our transformation over the past decade would not have been possible without your cooperation. Again, thank you personally and on behalf of the FBI for your efforts and your contributions, and I look forward to answering any questions you might have.
Well, thank you very much, Director.